welcome. You're watching Next IAS English. Today we are going to talk about a very important topic, which is Supreme Court protects 314 square kilometers of pristine sal forest in Jharkhand's Saranda. So this is again very important for environment perspective and UPSC perspective as well. Home to tribal communities and endangered wildlife, Saranda Forest division also accounts for 26% of Indian iron ore reserves are also here. State initially sought smaller sanctuary but later clarified that there are no mines in the extended area. So let's understand this, because here I want to introduce the context. So let's introduce the context first. What is the context behind the case? The court has directed the Jharkhand government to notify 31,468.25 hectares of Saranda Forest as wildlife sanctuary. Okay, and this directive is not just an environmental order, it is a constitutional reminder. The Supreme Court specifically referred to Article 48A and the state has to protect and improve forest and wildlife. The bench led by CGI BR Gavai emphasized that ecological protection cannot be an option, and especially in ecologically fragile regions like Saranda. Now, the court's stance reflects a broader legal principle balancing economic activities such as iron ore mining with the non-negotiable need to safeguard biodiversity. So this case sets a precedent for how environmental governance must operate within constitutional boundaries, constitutional framework. Moving forward, let's talk about the Saranda Forest. Now, Saranda Forest is one of the largest and oldest sal, Shorea robusta forest in Asia. Now, Saranda is ecologically iconic because it is one of the Asia's largest and oldest sal forest, which is located in West Singhbhum district of Jharkhand. West Singhbhum district of Jharkhand. The region is famously called the land of 700 hills. Yes, and due to its undulating topography, it forms an integral part of the Chota Nagpur Plateau ecosystem as well. And it is also known as a dense forest cover and rich mineral resource. So one important point relevant for UPSC is that about 26% of India's iron ore reserves are located here. This creates an intrinsic conflict between conservation and mining. Understanding Saranda's geography and resource profile is very essential to appreciate why the Supreme Court had to intervene in this matter. Now, moving forward, let's talk about the ecological significance. Now let's understand what is the ecological significance of this forest. So this is habitat to critically endangered and endemic species, which include the sal forest tortoise, four-horned antelope, Asian palm civet and wild elephants. Now it is home to several endangered and endemic species including the sal forest tortoise, the four-horned antelope and the Asian palm civet, and large populations of wild elephants as well. The dense sal canopy supports unique understory flora and creates a microclimate critical for the species, for especially these species. Now, the forest also serves as a key elephant corridor and in eastern India, especially linking habitats in Jharkhand, Odisha and West Bengal as well. So additionally, Saranda functions as a major watershed area, controlling groundwater recharge and maintaining perennial streams. Any ecological disturbance here has a cascading impact across states, which strengthens the argument for strict protection. Now, moving forward, let's talk about the tribal and cultural significance. Now, let's talk about the tribal and cultural significance of this forest. So, from a socio-cultural perspective also, Saranda has been home for centuries to indigenous communities such as the Ho, Munda, Oraon and allied Adivasi communities as well. Their traditional livelihoods like forest produce collection, minor agriculture and ritual practices are deeply intertwined with the forest. This point. And the Supreme Court noted that conservation in Saranda cannot ignore tribal rights. So tribal rights again very important, and Forest Rights Act 2006, especially the provisions on community forest resources CFR rights, plays a crucial role in both livelihood protection and participatory conservation as well. So this again very important, and this case refers that protecting forest also means protecting the people who depend on these forests. Now moving forward, let's talk about the issues with mining in Saranda. Now what are the issues in mining in Saranda? Let's talk about the issues now. So this slide explains that environmental challenges caused by extensive iron ore mining, companies like SAIL, SAIL, Tata and private operators have caused these habitat fragmentation, loss of elephant corridors, soil degradation and siltation, pollution of streams. So all this, and the changes in soil structure does lead to erosion and siltation. Streams in key mining areas such as Noa Mundi and Goa region have experienced pollution and sediment load affecting water quality. Many mining leases also overlap with biodiversity rich forest compartments. Now furthermore, let's understand the expansion of roads and conveyor belts and township infrastructure has also been put under pressure on traditionally inhabited areas. So these impacts collectively weaken the whole ecological resilience of the forest. So again, this point I've already explained this. So moving forward, let's talk about the Supreme Court's observation. Now let's talk about what the Supreme Court has observed in this whole thing. Now in its observation, the Supreme Court made it very clear that declaring the area a wildlife sanctuary would halt mining and prevent further mining induced damage. The court emphasized that state has positive proactive obligation to identify ecologically sensitive zones, ecologically sensitive areas now, and legally protect them under the Wildlife Protection Act as well. It also highlighted that sustainable development cannot be used as a justification for unrestricted mining, especially when long-term ecological stability and wildlife migration routes are at stake. So again, it is very important. Now, importantly, the court linked conservation with protecting tribal livelihood rights as well, stressing that conservation and community well-being go hand in hand. So again, that was another big statement by Supreme Court. Moving forward, let's talk about the government's argument versus SC ruling. Now what was the government's argument versus SC Supreme Court's ruling? So the Jharkhand government argued that only 24,941.64 hectares should be declared or notified as a sanctuary, claiming that a larger notification would disrupt vital public infrastructure as well. However, the Supreme Court rejected this argument. It stated that reducing the notified area would compromise ecological integrity and harm tribal communities as well, whose survival is very much dependent on the forest, and this vital public infrastructure, and argument was rejected, citing tribal rights. Now this reasoning in foundational environmental principles such as the Precautionary Principle and the Public Trust Doctrine, which require the state to act in favor of environmental protection even when full scientific certainty is unavailable. Thus, the court ruled in favor of declaring the complete 31,468.25 hectares as a sanctuary. Moving forward, let's talk about why this topic is very important for UPSC. Why this topic is relevant for UPSC? So this case is extremely important for civil services, especially for prelims. So you should focus on location of Saranda, characteristics of Sal Forest, wildlife sanctuary, the declaration process, how it was declared, and critically endangered species also in that habitat. So again, it will be very important. Wildlife Protection Act also you can study, and the species found in that region. So for mains also this is a very perfect answer, because they can be several questions from forest conservation versus mining conflict, role of judiciary in environmental governance, community-led conservation models, sustainable development principles, and tribal rights and ecological justice. So there will be very strong questions, and it also provides strong answers on tribal rights, FRA 2006, and participatory forest management models. So in short, Saranda offers an excellent example of how ecology, economy, and constitutional principles interact in real-world governance. So moving forward, let's talk about the question for revision. MCQ question for revision. So I think we have covered this topic in a very multi-dimensional manner. Let's understand what the MCQ is, and let's see if you will be able to answer this, or if you were listening attentively. So recently the Supreme Court directed the Jharkhand government to protect the Saranda Forest. Which of the following is correct about the Saranda Forest? Now, which of the statements is the correct statement about the forest? We have already discussed this in the video. So let's see if you were listening attentively. The options are: it is one of the world's most pristine sal forests. It is famous mainly for mangroves ecosystem. C, it is located in the Western Ghats. D, it has no tribal population living in and around it. So let's see who answers correctly, and I want you to answer this question in the comment section below. And we have covered most important portions of the topic, and that is it for today. I will see you in another video. Until then, bye bye, take care.